have somebody speaking to me? Okay, hello. Yes, we go. Welcome to PhD Positivity Hack Delivered with Women on It, Hack the Future. My name is Beata Young, and today's PhD Positivity Hack Delivered will be by our guest Tamika Bickham. Hello, Tamika.
Hello, I'm so excited. We're here in person.
Yes, we are here in person in lovely background Miami. Yummy.
Welcome to Miami.
Yummy. And it's going to be yummy because we are going to talk about personal branding, how to build an outstanding positivity with your personal brand. Tamika, let me remind you, this is a grassroots community that focuses on women in tech, building startups, as well as having support of men. We have one man here in the background taking pictures and making sure that we look lovely and beautiful as always. We woke up, I woke up a bit disheveled. You didn't. I mean, I just landed last night without our luggage, but I still managed to look okay.
I had no idea without your one thing after another. And the time change.
But we are in good time to deliver some positive action points, because we are going to talk about how to build an outstanding personal brand. Before we dive into the topic, let me mention some remarkable women in Miami history. Julia Tuttle, known as the Mother of Miami, was the driving force behind the founding of the city. She moved to Biscayne Bay from Cleveland in 1890, using money from her family's estate to purchase 640 acres on the north side of the Miami River. Tuttle tirelessly lobbied Henry Flagler to bring his railroad down to Biscayne Bay, eventually sending him flowers and maybe even oranges as proof that a freeze that decimated crops in the northern and central Florida had spared the region. She gave Flagler land for the Royal Palm Hotel and a train station and split the remainder of her holdings with him to help seal the deal and start a town. There you go. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas was a journalist, author, environmentalist, and feminist whose work vastly reshaped environmental policy on the Everglades. She came to Miami in 1915, when only a few thousand people lived in the city, and worked at the Miami Herald, of which her father was the first publisher. She lobbied for women's suffrage early on, writing stories about women leaders and speaking to lawmakers in Tallahassee in support of giving women the right to vote. Mary Atlee Range was Miami's second woman city commissioner and the first woman to heal a state agency in Florida. Range led efforts to improve the quality of life for Black residents, including leading an effort to improve garbage pickup in Black neighborhoods. In today's episode, though, we are going to focus on building an outstanding personal brand. Have you ever stumbled upon someone's social media channel, and when you browse their page, it instantly gives you a perception of what type of person they are? I have, and that's how I found Tamika. Check out her website. In an evolving and competitive job market, it is essential to publish your public identity in the online marketplace and professional realm. This allows people to have a level of understanding of who you are as a person. Simply put, your personal brand is the overall image you present to the world and how you market yourself, online and offline. From storytelling to networking, there are just a lot of strategies to build your personal brand. And Tamika is going to talk about that. Just touch upon that, because you can check and talk to Tamika online or offline, as we had a lovely opportunity to have a coffee before joining this show. She's the founder and chief storyteller of TV Media Group, a video podcaster and an award-winning TV journalist and on-camera host. She believes that stories make us human and our stories connect us. After telling thousands of stories over the last 15 years, Tamika truly understands the power of well-told story. Now she works with businesses that care about health, wellness, and happiness to help them cultivate their unique story, create engaging content, and connect with their audience in an authentic way. Join us as we discuss this topic, and if you have questions, you can always reach Tamika. So Tamika, let's go back to your story. How did you start with building your personal brand?
Well, first, let me say thank you so much for having me. And thanks for sharing all that amazing history of women in Miami. I didn't know those things, even though I've been in Miami almost 15 years. So great to learn that.
Great.
As far as how I started building my personal brand, that is a big question, because I feel like, it's not just something you do one day, right? It kind of builds and evolves and changes over time. But as my experience as a TV journalist going back to 2010, I know the power of stories and the impact of stories. And when we got those emotional sound bites from people in the community and shared their stories on the news and got overwhelming responses at times, whether somebody needed help or they needed donations or they did something great and people just wanted to congratulate them, that really helped me understand the power of being authentic and really showcasing emotion and showcasing stories that appealed to people's emotions. So when I knew I was going to build my own business, I knew I had to bring the same out of me, which is a bit of a transition when you're a journalist and you're really objective and not necessarily sharing all of these intimate details about yourself and your life, because you're focusing on telling others' stories. But I knew there had to be a transition when I was now going to market myself and my brand and my business. How am I going to connect people to me and my story? So how can I open up, be vulnerable, be authentic? Because ultimately that's what works. And that's what connects us to people and helps us build our businesses.
That's beautiful what you told me, because over the course of 12 hours flight, I had a chance to catch up on some movies. And I watched the movie of Judy Garland, who was quite a character, but also she was very vulnerable. She had very difficult upbringing as a very young artist. And as you said, when we start our career or our personal story, we evolve. So personally, and we develop ourselves. So I was wondering, that Tamika that was 20 years old, how much did she change now?
Oh, goodness. A lot, a lot. And I'm still changing and will continue to change. Obviously, just the things that you value, the things that are important, they change over time. The things you want to do. I never wanted to even have my own business. That was not on my radar whatsoever. I knew I loved telling stories. And that started as me as a TV journalist in local TV news. But, that changed eventually, that I didn't want to be in local TV news anymore because I felt like I couldn't tell positive stories. A lot of it, was, if you watch the news when you're here in Miami, you'll see a lot of it is crime, a lot of it is negative. And that's important. We need to know the things going on in our communities. Yeah. But when you're living that day in and day out, it really can start to impact you because you're seeing a lot of things that, you'll never forget. And I knew that positive storytelling was just as important as sharing the difficult stories. And I wanted to have the opportunity to do that more and showcase, hey, what arts organizations are doing in our community, how these nonprofits are helping kids and strengthening communities and providing better futures, and also how small businesses or medium-sized businesses are really giving back and what they're doing and how their purposeful entrepreneurship is making this community a better place. So that really evolved, but sometimes you have to just keep doing the things to realize, hey, what it is I don't like, what type of stories I want to share.
Yeah.
And I know the story that I share today will be different than the story I share 2 years and 5 years from now.
Yeah, and some will be repeated, others will be pocketed somewhere, and you will never come back. But that's very interesting what you said, because recently I was comparing note. We are now in the global kind of turmoil in Russia-Ukraine conflict, and because I'm Polish, I've got lots of stories that are coming to me. And I was talking to my friend just a couple of months ago when she was telling me, it's so dreadful with COVID, with pandemic, and this news and that news, and this outlet says this. And I was saying, you just wait, once this will be no longer the top news, there will be something else. And now we see lots of media talking about Ukraine. There is nothing about COVID anymore.
Right.
So is it really important to do only clickable content, or is it okay to also do things sidewalks through our life?
What do you mean by sidewalks through our life?
I mean, like, you just did a little video of us preparing for the show, so it's not really impacting anybody else, but I would call it a sidewalk. It's not really what is the core of your business, right? This is not your everyday life, right? It's not what makes you money at the end of the day. So I'm thinking about, we can always drive ourselves into jab, right hook, but really we can show also the bigger picture and be vulnerable. We talked about your health. So I'm wondering how important it is in your daily life, what stories you focus, or is there something that you would rather avoid talking about?
Well, I like what you said about showcasing this and our behind the scenes is not what makes me money, because I would almost push back on that and say, ultimately, what I sell is creating content, is connection, is telling stories, is putting yourself out there. And that's what I'm doing here today. And I believe in showing versus telling. I can't tell my clients to show up, to tell their story, to put themselves out there, even when it feels uncomfortable, if I'm not willing to do the same thing. So I feel like I practice what I preach. I'm here showing instead of telling. I'm doing the thing that I tell others to do, which I feel then ties back into my purpose, ties back into my business, and ties back into what I sell. So to answer your question, as far as showcasing the sidewalks and the bigger picture, I think it's so important, because it's not always about the thing that you sell that makes people drawn to you. Sometimes it can be the health experience, or that you went through a hard time of grief or depression, or any other type of challenge or success. So I think sometimes when you share those things, different people connect with you over different ways and different things. So it all kind of ties back into the larger picture of the story. So don't shy away from wanting to share different aspects of yourself, because you never know what someone will relate to. And all those different pieces of yourself make up who you are, make up you as a person, and also make up your personal brand. So when you share those things, you'll attract and draw the right people to you who connect with you over those things.
Beautiful. Tamika, it's also quite important, because just a couple of months ago I was in the Bahamas, and I talked about the fact that we need more female role models. I mean, and it's not just Sheryl Sandberg, Elon Musk. We need us, right?
Yes.
And everybody involved in changing the mindset that it's only the big guys at the top of entrepreneurs making millions that are going to change the dynamic. It's actually the small, medium-sized companies that are bringing most money to the economy.
Absolutely.
So we need more female role models. We need you females to take that step into, yes, expanding your personal brand. And we talked about building your business. So tell us a little bit about how you started.
Oh, okay. So it was not intentional whatsoever. I had no plans to start a business, which I feel like most of us entrepreneurs tend to find ourselves in that position. I was working full time in 2018 when I found out a few months before October of 2018 that I was going to be laid off from my job. And, that really shocked me. It caused a lot of stress in my life. The situation was not a healthy one. And I was interviewing for other jobs because I thought I was still going to go get another full-time job. But I did have my side hustle, which I had started about 2.5 years before. So I had a handful of clients, and my clients were actually the ones who were like, why don't you go ahead and do this on your own? Like, pursue this full time. And I was scared. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want the responsibility of having to, make all my own money instead of just waiting for that direct deposit every 2 weeks. But here I am about 3.5 years later. And I ultimately said, I feel like life pushed me in this direction. I ended up here not by choice, but by chance. And I took it as a sign that, hey, what's the worst that could happen? Give it a little time, do the thing that I love to do, help people. And if it doesn't work, I can go back and get a job.
Right.
But it kind of worked.
It very much worked. So you focusing on brands that are bringing value. Why is that?
Purpose is so important. And I think most entrepreneurs, small businesses, even larger businesses, there's always a why. At least there should be. If there isn't, I'm not interested in working with those businesses. I think there's a greater reason. Like, we all get into business or even take a job, whatever that thing is, for a reason, because we love it, we're connected to it, we believe in it. There's a mission that we want to get behind and we want to support. And I feel that way about those that I work with. I can't work with someone that I just don't believe in the work that they do. And I think that makes sense for both sides. Like, you have to feel aligned. And those businesses that I feel most aligned with are purpose driven. They care about people's health. They care about people's happiness. They care about purposeful work and making this community a better place. And I think that goes back to the positivity piece that I was missing in local TV news, where it felt like I was telling these negative stories that, impacted people, that hurt people in a way when it didn't lift them up, So now I'm able to partner with these brands that are doing positive work. So it's very easy to tell the positive stories. I always say, hey, our clients are already doing great things in the world. We're just here to help you amplify that impact and continue to spread that positive message. So it just makes sense for the type of work that I like to do and the storytelling that I like to do. And at the end of the day, that's how I live my life and my business, is doing work that I believe in. And I love just aligning myself with others who do work they believe in.
So you say that having that purpose is important to also build your personal brand. What other factors are important when you start building that brand, that story, and focus on delivering your message to the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I would expand on building the personal brand with the purpose, because your purpose is something that will draw people to you. So depending on what you do, who you help, sharing that purpose ties into taking a stand. I think I saw a statistic that about 70% of consumers want to do business with brands they believe in, that are taking a stand on issues. So sometimes people are afraid to stand up for certain issues, for fear that they may turn off other potential consumers or clients. But I think that showing what you believe in draws more of the right people to you. So I think that's a big piece of building your personal brand. What are your core values? Establishing that. What do you believe in? And take a stand on it and don't waver. Right? Show people that, hey, this is what we believe, this is what we stand for, and we live it. We live it through the work that we're doing. So you can't just say it, you have to do it and follow through with your action. And then I think as far as the personal brand, don't be afraid to also just showcase you living it, right? I think the personal brand we're building because, and we're doing work that we live in our day-to-day life. So not only are you helping people in your business, but you're probably doing this in your personal life. So don't feel afraid to show how you do this in your day-to-day as well. So that means pictures and video of yourself, putting yourself out there, talking about the great work that you do, showing the great work that you do. That's a big piece of it too.
So I like to compare it, building personal brand, to chicken combo soup, because not everybody likes it, not everybody has to like it, but it's always consistent, it's always the same recipe, so you don't have to be liked by everybody, right? As long as you keep doing, as long as you keep delivering these recipes according to what your core values are, and sometimes you may add a little bit of Tabasco sauce, right? And show up your life at a party, whatever you really like, it's okay. And also another very, very important thing you said was about the personal brand building and bonding experience, because you will never truly bond if you don't share the same values. So these values and speaking up about these values is always important. And that brings me another story that I think was my sidewalk now. When I was praising one of the ladies who did a post on Facebook, I was just saying, it's great meeting, I was just attending, but somebody said, oh, I know that you are involved in 100 Women in Finance. And I said, no, I just said, it was a great event. I posted some pictures also about this event, even though I'm not involved in that, but I believe in women empowerment, in all these female groups that are out there. Some people may think, oh, but it's competing with you because you're a woman on it. So it's women in tech versus women in finance. You want to have more women in tech than in finance. No. This is all the same story of having more female leaders, changing the mindset, changing the perspective, making world a better place for our sons, our daughters, everybody.
Absolutely.
So
we're all going together, right?
Yes, hand in hand.
There doesn't have to be this. There doesn't have to be this competition. Like, we can all go on this journey together and help each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So, would you say how much different it is building a brand as a brand versus building a personal brand? Is there many differences, or is it exactly the same with the face attached?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different, right? Because I've worked with the clients who aren't necessarily the personal brand, and what you have is the business story, right? But then you might have, if they're the founder, there's the founder story. So those are both very different. But with the personal brand, the story of that founder tends to be the story of the business and guides the story of the business. And with that personal brand, sorry, I'm laughing because all of a sudden the streets of Miami,
there's a party,
have exploded, and it must be brunch time.
Absolutely. It's 11:20 in the morning on Sunday morning, but who cares?
Absolutely. So but yeah, I tend to think I favor the personal brand, because I do think that it opens up more opportunity for connection. no matter whether you have a business or a personal brand, I think it's important that you do have faces attached to it, because at the end of the day, people do business with people. They don't do business with just a logo, with a brand name. There are now, unless you're talking about, like you said, the Campbell Soup, you have the FedEx or you have the Home Depot. We don't really know the faces behind those big brands because they're so established. But I think when you're talking about building and as a small business, having a person attached to that is going to be key to building connection with your audience. So whether that's you as the CEO and founder or someone else on the team who's more of a spokesperson, I think it's important that that person shows up and represents the business so that people have someone to connect to.
Though thinking about these FedEx and Campbell, I can't help but notice the fact that they are quite often shifting into the employer branding, right? Though they show people working in the warehouse, they show, the CEO of something just to empower that brand and show these people behind the brand. So I think there is lots to tell. But let's go back to the branding and storytelling. Can introverts build a strong brand online?
Oh, goodness. This is a tough one for me because I am the opposite of an introvert. So I have a little hard time relating, although I do work with introverts. And you can absolutely build a personal brand. It might feel a little more uncomfortable. I do think it's important for you to do the thing. If you're an introvert or extrovert, I think no matter who you are, it's important to do the thing that feels best to you, because then you'll want to continue doing it. But at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, part of your role is to promote that business and to promote yourself and tell your brand story. So there are different things that will feel better to some than they will to others. So does that mean you want to go live on social media? Maybe, maybe not. Are you more comfortable sharing an image of you with, a written long form story? Maybe that feels better. Do you want to show up on video and record yourself and put yourself out there that way? There's different ways that you can approach it and see what works and what resonates with your audience. But I definitely think introverts can build a personal brand. They just have to find what works for them. But ultimately, you're going to have to show your face because people want to. Think about it from the perspective of, I'm helping these people that I serve versus I'm talking about myself. And I think that's where people get stuck. They get really afraid of the whole, people don't care about me. People don't want to hear about me. And it's like, they do, because they want to connect with someone and they want to do business with someone they feel connected to. So think about it as you marketing your business and your brand and not you.
So whether you are just an employee or whether you're an entrepreneur, it's very critical you start thinking about your future from the online, offline, and however you can build your brand, take that opportunity. So whether it's a book you just read, you can post a picture of the book. You don't have to show your face if you're uncomfortable. So I'm coming back to the fact that you build your brand focusing on health and what you're passionate about, because the health was kind of a little bit lacking. I mean, there was a moment when you told me that you struggled with your skin, with everything. It was collapsing, and I think many people had lots of struggles in life, especially when COVID hit us. So tell us about the fact that you're helping these brands that focus on health, and why did you choose exactly that topic?
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, in 2018, I got laid off from my full-time job that I thought I was going to be at for a while, that I did really enjoy. So at that time, I was going through a lot of stress. I felt things started happening, like my hair started falling out. My eyes were always red and painful. I started having these very painful rashes that also came with muscle spasms and things that were like really scary for me that I had never experienced. And then going to all these doctors and no one could figure out anything, and getting biopsies and then them telling me that it's an autoimmune response. We don't have a diagnosis for you, but you have a lot of inflammation in your body. So it forced me to take a look at what I'm eating, how I'm managing my stress, and all of the things that I was doing in my life. And honestly, I can't let an instance like this in my life, as traumatic and difficult as it can be, take over my health. Because at that point, now I was forced to kind of pivot and look at how am I going to build this small business, right? And if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And I think so many businesses, small to large, are realizing that. And again, this was right before or a year and a half before the pandemic. And I feel like everyone was really forced to take a look at that in 2020, when I was really forced to take a look at that about a year and a half earlier. And I'm like, what do I need to live a fruitful life? I need my health, number one. I need my happiness, which is so fueled by how I'm feeling in my health. And I need to live my purpose and what feels good to me, what feels good when I wake up every day. And I feel like that truly applies to everyone. And so I really decided to take those core values that I felt within myself and apply them to my business: health, happiness, and human connection, and really focus on working with businesses that I feel like exemplify that. And whether they're helping people live healthier, helping people live happier, or developing a purposeful business, that feels good to me. And I know that feels good to them. So it just feels like in the right alignment. So I really try to let that guide me through my business and through the clients we work with, and also the team that we have. I share that with everyone on the team as well. And I think really everyone enjoys that. And once they know, hey, this is what we stand for, and like, I feel good about this too, we all know we're headed in the right direction together.
So we had purposeful storytelling now in action. Tell us, what is that, and how important it is to your story, to your personal branding?
Absolutely. I'll go back to, I think you were mentioning earlier about these bigger brands and how they're showcasing stories about their employees. One of the things that I've really enjoyed doing with some of the bigger businesses we work with is helping them share stories through some of their corporate social responsibility programs, right? So you might be this big business that's going to bring in all this revenue regardless, but how are you connecting to people? And that's through stories. So whether you're small, whether you're big, everyone needs a story. So some of the things that we would do is start to show how they're giving back in the community. And one business, for example, was giving $10,000 grants to Black-owned businesses during the pandemic, because they made a pledge to do that, because 40% of Black-owned businesses closed during the pandemic, which was such, a large number. So they committed to giving grants away to Black-owned businesses throughout the country. So my business ended up telling stories of those who received the grants. What did it mean to them? How did the pandemic affect them? What will this mean for their business going forward? How are they now able to survive and thrive because they have that additional cash flow coming in? And yes, well, that's doing good in the community for other businesses, that is now telling a story of what this larger business stands for, what they care about, what they value, which then ultimately connects them to others that they may not have been connected to before. So I'd say think about how you can showcase your core values. Obviously, not everyone is going to say, hey, I can give away a $10,000 grant and let's tell the story of how great we are because we did that. No, but there are great things all of us do in our everyday lives. And that could be from very little to very big. But thinking about how you can just share that with the world, because people appreciate that. Share that, and also share the challenges. Like me talking about getting sick and having these rashes. And I've had so many people that have reached out who said, I've had autoimmune issues too, and who have connected with that and don't care about anything else like storytelling related. But hey, this is something I've gone through. What did you do? What did you learn from it? And I think that's important. So just think about the ways that you can share your stories. And again, people will relate to that.
Yep, people will always bond over
Yep.
core values and stories. So coming back to the Black community, you mentioned that they were most impacted. I also know that there are some numbers showing that women also struggled a lot, because it was usually women who had to look after their children during the pandemic and after. How is it for you as a female of minority, building a business and coming to these companies trying to build their brand? Did you have some stories of people not believing you can deliver good value, or everything was hunky-dory?
Absolutely. I mean, it happens all the time. It still happens now. I mean, I will tell you the most bizarre thing. When I was actually walking here to meet you, some people on the street thought I worked at Walgreens, even though I'm dressed in a jacket and I'm coming here looking very professional, and they're asking me, and we weren't even anywhere near Walgreens. They were asking me questions about the store. And I'm just like, you will always get that, unfortunately, from some people, that you are less than, not worthy, not capable because of how you look, your race, gender, etc.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's always something that, you're going to have to fight against, but I think that it doesn't stop us, right? Like, you will always find the right people for you. And again, I think that goes back to telling the story. And the people that don't believe you're capable, you are worthy, you are worth, have the value that you do, are not your people. So I think it's just remembering that. And then when you can, and like when I've gotten through challenges as far as being told no, like every entrepreneur, but I'm sure a lot more than some, being told no, being not trusted for something, coming up against challenges. But there's another side to it. So you stick it out, you will find success. And I think once you do, you help others, right? You help other women, you help other minorities, and give them opportunities, because that's ultimately how we all advance together.
It's an amazing story of Walgreens. I remember when I was working in London, I was approached by one woman who asked me about something that was not in a store. I had to work in a store to start somewhere. Yeah. And she was trying to explain to me, and I said, no, we don't have it. You can check in our catalog, but we do not have it. And she just turned around and said, you don't understand. Walked off. So these stories will always pop up. Exactly. Do not worry. Break the bias. This is Women's History Month.
There you go. Break the bias. I love it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. That was the hashtag of this year's International Women's Day celebration. Last month was Black History Month. And I'm wondering, is there somebody who inspires you as a member of Black female community, or somebody who you would like to be like?
Oh, goodness. That is a big question. That's a difficult one, because the person who does inspire me most is my mom. And she is not Black. My mom is white. But I will say, because she was with a Black man, she received a lot of hate and discrimination from her own family included.
Oh my goodness.
So, I know it was really challenging for her, not having support, especially once she had a baby, me, and not having support from her family, because she was going to have a Black child. So even though she isn't a Black woman, she's shown to just be such a huge supporter of Black people and also been discriminated against herself just because of the decisions she made and the people she decided to love in her life. So I really admire that.
And her name is?
Karen.
Karen. Hello, Karen. Say hello. Thank you for raising such a beautiful daughter and a beautiful storyteller. And you were also talking to us about video storytelling and podcasting. And can you tell us, how do we make, especially these maybe introverts, how can they start their video storytelling?
Oh, goodness. So you want me to talk to introverts? It's
yes,
so hard.
Why not? Let's start from the hard one. It's going to be easier then.
So video is what's closest to my heart. Since I was a TV journalist, there's something so powerful about being able to match visuals to words because it makes the story come to life in a way that I think people can just connect with. I know not everybody is comfortable getting on camera, but if you think about how you are watching this right now, you are able to get a feel for our personalities and our energy, our authenticity, how genuine we are, because we are speaking on camera.
Yes, speaking of, I'm gonna need a fluff.
Thank you.
Yes, it's just stuck to your, yeah.
We got it. Which it's great to be able to have that and just also have that energy in person when you can.
Yeah.
But if you think about everything we said today, if you were to read it on a piece of paper, how you would receive that information, you would have to create the tone. You would have to try to infer like the other like meanings behind things, right? And you wouldn't know exactly how genuine we were, or you wouldn't know how if you could connect with us or not, as much as you can through seeing it on video. The energy is different. You get a feel for somebody's personality. So if you think about how you connect with people on video, try to put yourself in those shoes, right? And how you feel when you like someone that you're watching on video. So try to put yourself as an introvert in those shoes and say, hey, I know this doesn't always make me feel comfortable, but people really will get to see the true me, who I am, and connect with me faster than they would through just written word, because they're able to feel and see your energy.
Well, I can think of one person that did our live stream just a couple of months ago. Kenya Kelly was talking about building your business on TikTok. Have you got a TikTok account?
I do, but I can't figure out how to get back in. I haven't been in months.
You and me, sister.
Oh my goodness. It's on the to-do list, I promise.
Good. But you've got reels.
I have
Instagram
reels. Plenty of stories. We're posting them today.
Yes. Stay tuned.
Exactly.
So we talked about the documenting part of life. It doesn't have to be big thing,
Right.
It doesn't have to be all red carpets things and lots of praises and so on. Introverts, they can post about their daily life, their struggles. Being vulnerable is okay. We said that's okay too. Being, I don't know, different sexual orientation is okay. Absolutely. As well. That was a big shock for some people and still is. Okay. And that's okay to show what you believe in.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be Campbell soup to be liked. Coming back to entrepreneurship and your stories, this Tamika that started her entrepreneurial journey, what would be your word of advice now from 2018, right? You had your single big step.
Oh, goodness. Well, like everyone says, it's not for the faint of heart. We all know. But honestly, just follow your gut, I feel like is one of my biggest pieces of advice. Because early on, it's going to be hard. You're going to have a lot of questions about which way to go. And like anyone, we start to ask for outside opinion, right? Because you're not totally sure. You're not at a place where you have that true sense of confidence and clarity in your business, which is okay. It tends to develop and get much more clear over time. I just, even 2 months ago, came to a new level of clarity, like, this is, what I need to do. Because again, you're always evolving, just like your story. So I would say it's okay to source outside opinion and be unsure about things, but always go back to your gut. Don't do things that don't feel aligned with your purpose and what you believe in. So certainly look for that outside opinion, but when something doesn't feel right or feels misaligned, listen to your gut, because even early on, a lot of times we'll say yes to things that might not be right because we need to make the money. But I've had times when that has blown up in my face and I have worked with the wrong person and I have lived to regret it. And I've learned to listen to your gut in every instance possible, because you will thank yourself later. You know best, because this is your business.
Right. So don't feel also obliged to follow that opinion if you don't feel that it's right for you. So we are talking about the soft skills, the hard skills, how you build your journey through journalism, how you were capable of getting that confidence. I can't think of a better role model than Oprah with her journalistic career. Yes, and I'm thinking about her being turned down as well, because she lost her job and then she started her own program, and that worked very well for her. What are the top 5 soft skills that every female entrepreneur needs to start the journey?
Oh goodness, you're giving me hard ones today. You might have to help me with this one. Okay, soft skills. Definitely perseverance. Is that a soft skill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Confidence. Absolutely, confidence is key. Again, you'll build more over time as you are able to prove to yourself, you reach new accomplishments, and that's okay. Okay, so this is perseverance, confidence, which I feel like is a little bit different from like this steadfast belief in yourself and your capabilities, right? Like we all have something unique to offer the world, and we are all special. Even though that sounds corny and cliche, like, a lot of times we get into this comparison mode of like, hey, this person is here and does this so well. Why would somebody want to work with me? But they're not you. You are truly unique. So I think it's so important to just recognize that and believe that. So I think that's an important skill. Something I still tend to work on is a tough skin. A tough skin, you gotta get used to. Yeah. People saying no.
Yeah.
People not believing in you.
Yeah. People asking you, can you get something at Walmart or whatever?
Yeah. Exactly. People undervaluing you. So having that thick skin and just knowing when to say no.
Because this is also exactly what Oprah says. I discovered what I want to do through doing the things that I do not want to do in the future. And she decided to turn down some opportunities just to stick to her gut feeling.
Exactly.
Right. What is your strategy for problem solving, Tamika?
Oh, okay. I will tell you, because I came to a place in December, January, when I wanted to burn the whole business down. It happens. Listen, I feel like you are not a true business owner if you haven't wanted to burn everything down at one point or another.
Yeah.
It happens because I had a huge spurt of growth last year. So September, October, November, December were nonstop. And for those 3 to 4 months, I worked 15-hour days, 7 days a week. And it was not healthy. Again, going back to the health thing, like sometimes, hey, I have to recenter and figure out, oh, wait, this is totally not what I should be doing because this isn't, I want to be productive and I want to work hard, but I need to be healthy as well. So I was just keeping up with all of the new work and opportunities coming in, which was great. But I didn't have the structure in some ways and support from certain, I needed certain team members. I need to reorganize things. So sometimes things can feel so overwhelming that you want to burn it all down. So that was a problem, right? So what I do is start seeking out answers. I'm big on investing in mentors or a business coach or something like that. If you feel like you can find the person that can give you the answers to the thing faster than you can doing trial and error, I feel like it's worth it to invest that money because you can't get back time. You can get more money, right?
Love it.
So that's what I would say. Just try to seek out the answers. If there's a course you need to take the course. If there's someone you can hire to give you the answers, hire that person. But figure out what the problem is and who can provide the answer to it.
Beautiful. Tamika, it's time for our favorite question about life lesson quote.
Okay.
What's your life lesson quote and how did it impact you in your life or at some point in your career?
Life lesson quote. Oh my goodness. You ask hard questions. I always go back to one. Okay, I do have one that I can think of. A former colleague said this to me, and this was far before an idea of a business was even in my mind. And it was when I was in my first job as a reporter, small town, Montgomery, Alabama. And all of a sudden I had like 5 opportunities pop up at big stations across the country. And it was exciting, but it was overwhelming. And I doubted myself and my ability to kind of step up to the plate in those new roles. And I remember he told me, never talk yourself out of the potential someone else sees in you. And I think a lot of times we are our own worst critics. We are harder on ourselves than others are on us. And it's important to not talk yourself out of things, especially a lot of times other people are our biggest cheerleaders. Not always, but a lot of times they are, and people believe in us more than we believe in ourselves. So don't forget to give yourself the credit you deserve.
There you go. That's how you build your personal brand. Absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, add what is specifically your own. That's Bruce Lee's words. Very good for personal branding. And that's another quotation I would like to use. All of us need to understand the importance of branding. We are CEOs of our own companies, me incorporated. To be in business today, our most important job is to be head marketer for the brand called you. That's Tom Peters in Fast Company. Right. You are the brand, you are owning the brand building company. What would you say was the biggest lesson that you learned during the pandemic?
The biggest lesson I learned during the pandemic.
Hard questions.
Hard questions. I think the first thing that pops into my mind is how much people value connection.
Right.
Because it was almost like, and I'm getting chills thinking about it, it's almost like there was nothing scarier when we all felt like we had to stay away from each other. So as much as sometimes we think we don't need that, because I can be one of those people who ends up getting trapped in my office and my 4 walls working day in and day out. But it was a healthy reminder that we all need people, some more and some less. But how important that connection is in our personal lives, and then that translates to our business and our professional lives.
Absolutely. Love it. That's beautiful. Another life lesson quote, connecting people, connecting all over the world. We connected online. We are now offline and enjoying these beautiful views of beautiful Miami. We have 5 more minutes left before the end of the show. Let's imagine the pandemic is over and you can invite any person in the world to have private breakfast anywhere in the world. Who would you invite and where would you go to?
Oh my goodness! How am I supposed to answer these questions? Okay.
We know probably Karen, your mom, but
yes. I might need to get back to you on that one. I'm going to come up with an answer right now, but then I feel like I'm going to come up with more answers. Okay. Who would I want to have breakfast with anywhere in the world? Okay. I'm going to just tell you the first person that comes to my mind, and it's someone I've always looked up to a lot as a journalist, Lisa Ling. So if you know Lisa, actually, I first discovered her on Oprah's show. Because she was a correspondent for her show, and I just love her style of storytelling, how authentic she is. It's never about being perfect or polished, but it's about being honest and true and education. And I always feel like I brought that style with me. It inspired me a lot. So I would love to she's got so many great series out now. And I would just love to learn about them. I would love to work with her. Like, I would love to learn all the things. So that's who I would say.
Okay. And where would you go to? Would you say?
Oh, where would I go to? I don't know. Maybe somewhere fancy like Dubai.
Ooh, wow. Good. Well, I hope that Lisa Lang will accept your invitation to Dubai to have private breakfast, maybe in Taj Mahal or somewhere. Anyway, it's a great branding opportunity for Lisa and for Tamika, I believe. The keys to brand success are self-definition, transparency, authenticity, and accountability, Simon Mainwaring says. I would attest to that. Tell people what they may forget, show them. They may remember, but involve them and they will understand. The importance also of talking to other female leaders or other personal brand people out there is going to enhance your branding opportunity. I actually say, don't be focused only on your business, on what you want to talk about. Make sure that you network, and the great opportunity of networking, especially during the pandemic, the lockdown, whatever will happen next year or next March or whatever season is upon us, or pandemic, there's always great opportunity online to build your story, to enhance other people's stories. Don't be afraid to make a comment and congratulate somebody on their achievements, because it's not taking away your power. It is enhancing other sisters out there, their stories, but also it is going to be a much better impact for you once you are supporting others. So you were talking about the connection. I would add that as a very important part of connecting people. We talked also about offline, of course, about Jackie Taylor's great suggestion about empathy economy. We are going to warn you about next week's topic discussion, and here is the poster. Next week we are talking about how to establish your worth and add tax. This is also important for your personal brand building. But that's next week at 6 p.m. CET, midday EST, provided the time is right. I mean, it's already changed the time here, but I'm sure you will sort it out once you click that button and you subscribe to our channels on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. As always, our positivity quotes comes from positive thinking only and goes, look for something positive every day. Even if some days you have to look a little harder, whether it's news media outlet, whether it is offline or online. Thank you very much, Tamika. It's been lovely to have this lovely chat. I hope we're going to enjoy some nice weather in Miami. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. See you next week.